Hey guys, I'm Kelsey. Welcome back to my channel, and I'm here to talk to you today about the differences between traditional and water-soluble or water-mixable oil paints. But first off, if you're new here, welcome. My name's Kelsey, and this channel is all about art and oil painting and my journey to become a professional freelance artist and creative. So, paint is essentially two different components. All paint is essentially two different components. You have your dry pigment. This is what gives the paint its color. And then you have the binder. The binder in oil paint is something like linseed oil, walnut oil, or safflower oil. There's a bunch of different oils. And in something like egg tempera, you have like milk or egg white, or I don't know how egg tempera is made actually. I can't speak on authority. But all paint is made, to my knowledge, with a dry pigment and a binder. The binder is usually like some kind of liquid, and then you sort of mull it together with the dry pigment, and then it makes a substance, and you can paint on things with said substance. So that's how paint is made. Congrats, you're now an expert. The general public sort of has this innate fear of oil painting. Like, it's perceived to be this very toxic thing, whether or not that is like actually true anymore, but it's perceived to be this very toxic thing that you sort of don't want on your skin, you obviously don't want to eat, and so people are afraid to use it. So there is this hole or this opening in the market for a non-toxic kind of oil paint, and oil paint manufacturers, the innovators that they are seeking to sort of create a product that fills that need. So they came up with this. This is a non-toxic, I just dropped it. Nice. This is a non-toxic kind of oil paint. It is a water-soluble, also known as water-mixable oil paint, and essentially this is a dry pigment, a binder, as well as a proprietary additive which acts as an emulsifier that lets you clean this up and use it with water. So, in case you don't know, like the famous saying, oil and water don't mix. And because these paints are oil-based, they do work best with oil-based mediums and additives. And by medium here, I'm not talking about acrylic versus watercolor. I'm talking about the thing that you add to the paint to change its properties. So this is an oil painting medium. This is the fat medium from Chelsea Classical Studio, and it sort of makes paints glossier, it changes the drying time, and it gives paint sort of more body, I guess. It makes the colors, in my opinion, a little bit more vivid. I'm not sure if that's really true, but similarly, this is the lean medium from the same brand, Chelsea Classical Studio, and it also changes the drying time, it thins paints out and makes them a little more matte, in my opinion. So let me show you two paintings that have been used with the mediums. So this painting here of this sort of grove of birch trees was made primarily with the fat medium from Chelsea Classical Studio. You can see sort of how glossy it is and how, like, if I move it on the side, you can see all those stiff peaks that are still there, and like how much body and like how visible the brush strokes are on this. And then let's compare that to this, which is pretty matte. You can see there are some areas where I must have used more of one medium than another, but as a whole this is pretty matte. It's also pretty flat. There aren't very much like impasto things going on here. So that's sort of an overview of what I mean by medium, but let's get back into our discussion about water-soluble or water-mixable oil paints and the differences between that and traditional. So trying to use water as your medium with these paints won't work very well. You'll be able to tell right off the bat that the paint consistency will be strange, and the paint handling isn't as great. The spreadability is significantly worse. It's just sad overall. Whenever I see someone trying to use water with these paints, I want to jump off of a bridge. More so than usual. So using water with these paints will give you an inferior experience on every front. You'll have to use more to go farther, and they don't have the same spreadability as traditional oils, which is a significant drawback considering that this is $15 a tube, and this paint, a traditional oil paint, is like $7 a tube, and this is artist quality. So yeah. But if you're committed to a non-toxic oil painting workflow, I have an entire video about non-toxic oil painting, and I will give you one guess as to where that is. Yeah, it's up there. Good job, you guessed it. I think personally that the entire branding of these paints is a little bit flawed. There is nothing inherently toxic about a tube of modern oil paint. So let me sort of tackle the fear around oil painting more systematically. So there's a lot of fear about getting oil paint on your hands or in your mouth. And in your mouth, I can see that. You know, like, don't eat oil paint. That's just a generally bad idea. A, it doesn't taste good. B, it's bad for you. So, you know, there are far easier and tastier things to snack on if you're that hungry. Pigments in a modern context are ground to such a size that the individual, like, piece of like pigment, like the individual particles, can't be absorbed into your skin the way that they could be like maybe 15 or 20 years ago. There are toxic pigments, sure, you know, you have like lead and cadmium, and those are still ground in such a way that they can't be easily absorbed into your skin, but I mean, eating them will cause you problems. But the most toxic part of oil painting has and always will be the mediums that you use with your paints. So turpentine and mineral spirits are incredibly harmful chemicals that do cause health problems with repeated exposure. These are not things that you want to expose yourself to frequently, but there's great news on this front because you don't need turpentine or mineral spirits. There are tons of non-toxic oil painting mediums, like I showed you earlier, that are really effective as workarounds and provide similar results without any of the toxic health risks. If you're concerned about price, I really wouldn't recommend these because they're really expensive. They are non-toxic, sure. The experience is also inferior and they cost $15 a tube. This color is particularly pricey at $15 a tube. I think the lowest that they have is like $9 or something. But if you need, 10 colors to get started, or maybe 6 if you're being, particularly frugal, then that is still going to set you back quite a bit. And oil painting is sort of a thing that needs a lot of different supplies, and paint is only one of those. Whereas with traditional oil paints, this tube is maybe $7 to $8. You can get student grade traditional oil paint for $3 a tube that I think is comparable, or at least adequate for a beginner. This is not to say, of course, that water mixable oil paints don't have a place on your palette. This color specifically, this luminous opera from Holbein's Duo Aqua line, is the best water mixable oil paint that I found in the market, this line. And this color specifically, I haven't been able to find anywhere else. It's incredibly vibrant, it's amazing. It does really well with glazes. It's an intensely vibrant underpainting. It makes like the color mixes just absolutely brilliant. This color will always have a place on my palette, even if I really don't like water soluble oil paints or water mixable oil paints in general at all. I've searched high and low for something that even is like a close match or a dupe to this paint color, and I haven't been able to find it anywhere. It's really bright. It's like a borderline neon pink, and I mean, I don't know. It's a staple on my palette. It will always be there, but I really don't know if I can recommend water mixable oil paints as a whole. But if you're really concerned about having a non-toxic workflow, then I would really recommend you maybe try these paints, see if you like them, if they work for you, but don't use water with them, please. Please. I really don't like the water mixable oil painting mediums either. I would go with a non-toxic traditional oil painting medium, just because your experience will be better. The paint handling is far superior, and I really think that like your painting experience should be as pleasant as possible, and there really isn't a reason to settle for something inferior when you can have a good thing that costs the same or less, that like just really gives you a better experience. So I hope you found this video informative and enjoyable, and if you did, please don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you're new here, because I put out videos pretty frequently and they're, I don't know, I think they're always great. Up to you, I guess, to decide. And I'm pretty new to YouTube. I just hit 50 subscribers not that long ago, so I really appreciate all of the support and I respond to every comment personally. Alright, bye guys.